Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to the video. Today's vehicle is a 2008 Mitsubishi Eclipse, and this thing is all kinds of filthy. Alright, so having a look around this car, and almost every single inch of it is covered in dirt, as the roads have been wet and mucky over the last little while. So from the wheels to the wheel wells, and especially on the back end, it's super dirty. Now moving inside the car, and it only gets worse as I'm immediately hit by the smell of cigarette smoke and can quickly see that the vehicle hasn't been cleaned in a really long time. So there's garbage and all kinds of dirt, grime, and ash everywhere I look. And now just before we jump into the video, take a quick second and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos like this. I post a new video every week, so make sure you've got the bell on so you get notified when they go live. Alright, well I've definitely got my work cut out for me on this one, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the transformation. Alright, so getting started on the pre-wash rinse here, and I know some of you have asked how these vehicles get so dirty on the outside, and honestly with the snow and salt on the roads up here in Canada, if the temperatures are anywhere near zero, the roads will be a mucky mess and results in about 90% of the vehicles on the road looking like this, or sometimes even worse. And I also figured I'd let you know that if you stick around to the end of this video, you'll get to see the customer's reaction, which isn't something I'm always able to film for you guys, so I hope you enjoy it. Now moving to the back of the car where most of the dirt is, and I have to say that it's super nice to be working on a car for a change. You guys know I get a lot of trucks in with the majority of them being Silverados or Sierras, so it's nice not having to deal with the carpeted wheel well liners, and also having a small vehicle in should let me get through this detail a lot faster today. Now even though this car has plastic wheel well liners, there's still tons of dirt in them, as you can see by what's accumulating on the garage floor. So if you guys are curious and want to see how I clean up the garage after a detail like this, go check out my second channel, the Detail Geek 2. I just posted a garage cleanup video a couple days ago that shows you the entire cleanup process, including the floor drain. Alright, so with the wheels and paint as clean as I can get them with the pressure washer, I'm using some of my Meguiar's iron remover because I noticed quite a few tiny rust spots on the car. So what this stuff does is safely dissolve those iron particles that are stuck to the paint, and after spraying some on and letting it sit for a few minutes, it's going to react with any iron and turn purple. So as you can see, there was quite a bit all over this car. Then I'll quickly get it rinsed off because this is by far the worst smelling product I've ever used. It smells exactly like raw sewage and is incredibly potent. Every time I open my cupboard door with all my chemicals in it, I get a nice whiff of it, but it definitely works really well, so I guess I can't complain too much. Alright, so with the car covered in some nice thick foam, I'll go around with my boar's hair detail brush to get down into all the crevices to lift any dirt out that my wash mitt will miss. And if you're curious as to where you can get these detail factory brushes that I use, The link is down in the description, so feel free to check those out. Now, just like you guys saw in that Trailblazer video a few weeks ago, these floor mats were super dirty and way too bad for the extractor to be able to get them perfectly clean. So after spraying on some of my carpet solution and letting it sit for a couple minutes, I'll use the drill brush to agitate and get the dirt lifted up, and then use the pressure washer to finish the job. And just like those Trailblazer mats, my garage was immediately overwhelmed with the smell of cigarette smoke, as these mats were holding on to the majority of the smell in this vehicle. Alright, so moving on to the interior now, and the very first thing I have to do is get these seats out of here, because with this being a small two-door car, it would be really hard for me to maneuver around with them in the vehicle. Not to mention it's going to make it 100 times easier to clean everything with them out. Next, just to give myself a little bit more room, I'm going to get the center console out too, and they aren't usually held in by more than just a couple of screws, but this Mitsubishi did require that I take a few of the dash pieces out, but they were just held in by clips, so it was really easy. Alright, so I'll start by getting the obvious garbage out of here, along with any personal items that I'll put off to the side for now, and then I'll grab a garbage bag and toss anything in there that's too big for the vacuum to suck up. Next, I'll go around and pick up all the loose coins, and this was definitely the most I've ever seen in a vehicle. I think there was close to $20 just sitting on the floor. That'll be a nice surprise for the owner when she gets her vehicle back. Alright, so as I get started on vacuuming up the massive amount of dirt and debris and old cheesies, one thing that is quickly apparent is that this Mitsubishi has extremely cheap carpet. I'm not sure how many of you out there are detailers and might have seen this stuff before, or maybe you even have a vehicle with carpet like this, But basically it's the type of carpet that pretty well won't ever come perfectly clean no matter what you do. It's tough to describe, but no matter how long you vacuum it or how many times you use the brush, you can't get all the dirt out. I've seen it once before in a Honda HR-V, and unfortunately I have to deal with it in this car, but I'll do what I can to get it looking almost perfect again. Now with everything vacuumed, I'll go over it with the drill brush to get as much of the trap dirt lifted up to the surface as I can, so then I can quickly vacuum it up before I pull out the extractor later on. Now turning to the back seats, and you'll notice all the red glitter covering the seats. And if you're curious where that was from, there was a red glittery gift bag in the back that was ripped, which somehow caused it to shed glittery debris all over these seats. Now turning to the mystery spill in the back here, and now that it's thawed out a bit, I'm just using a couple of microfiber towels to scoop it up and then soak up as much of it as I can, and then I'll leave the rest for the Bissell. Alright, so getting started on the carpets here, and after spraying on some carpet solution diluted 20:1 with my pump sprayer, I'm using the drill brush to help get the dirt and stains loosened from the fibers so it can be sucked away with the extractor. Now for any of you who are wondering what my exact process is here, it's really very simple. Because I pre-treat with the carpet solution, I only use hot water in the Bissell, and so as I make the first pass, I'm spraying water at the same time, which is helping to further dilute the solution. Then on the second pass, I'll keep spraying water, and I'm closely watching the color of the water coming through the extractor. If it's still dirty or I can still see solution, I'll keep making passes spraying water until it's coming through clear. Although if it's not quite clear, I'll spray down some more solution, use the drill brush again, repeat the process until the water comes out clear and I know the section is clean. Then I'll switch to just extracting to make sure I can get the carpet as dry as possible. Now as I suck away more of the smell with the Bissell here, I figured I would let you know that the links to almost every product and tool I use, including the Bissell, the drill brush, and the carpet solution I'm using, are down in the description, so feel free to check those out. And if any of you have been looking to pick up an extractor, I would highly recommend the Bissell Spot Clean Professional. I've used mine a lot more than the average person ever would, and it's still working perfectly. Not to mention it really can't be beat for the price. Now moving to the seats and having them out of the vehicle is going to make this process a lot easier. So the one big tip I have for extracting seats is to only use as much solution as is necessary to get the seats clean. The last thing you want to do is saturate the seats and have the foam underneath soaked with solution. So only use as much as necessary. And then when you're making your passes, make sure to press down a bit to compress the foam so you can get them as dry as possible. Usually the seats are going to take a little bit longer to dry out than the carpets, which in my experience with my garage heater running and the vehicle doors open, takes a couple of hours. Here's all the dirty, smoky water the Bissell sucked out of this car. Gross. Turning to all the interior trim and using some all-purpose cleaner diluted 10:1 and a slightly damp microfiber towel to wipe everything down. Then I'll follow up with a dry one to get any remaining APC residue. And then depending on the area of the vehicle, I'll also use my boar's hair detail brush to get down into the switches and around the door handles, things like that, as there's always dirt or dust hiding down in the crevices. Alright, so it's time to bust the steamer out for around the gear shifter. So after spraying on some APC, I've got the brush attachment on and I'm using that to agitate all the grime and the ash that was all over this thing. And a big tip for when you're cleaning around the shifter is to put the key in so you can move it through the various gears and make sure you get the whole thing clean, because there is nothing worse than your customer putting it in drive when they go to leave and seeing all the dirt that you've missed. Now for the super grimy cup holders, I'm spraying on some 4:1 APC and then blasting it with the steamer to help get it all loosened up. And one thing that's especially helpful for in the corners is to take the attachment off, as you can get a more concentrated and higher velocity blast of steam that can be especially good for stubborn gunk. Now before I get a sealant applied to the paint, I'm using my clay bar to pick up and remove any surface bonded contaminants like tar, tree sap, or any other road grime. And since I used the iron remover earlier, I'm really not expecting there to be much left on this paint, but I'll still get it perfectly clean so the sealant can adhere properly. Alright, so using some of my Meguiar's Mirror Glaze synthetic sealant, I'll throw a foam finishing pad on the polisher and apply a thin, even layer to the paint. And besides the nice gloss it's going to provide, the stuff is super easy to remove. Not like some waxes where you really have to put some effort into it, so I would definitely highly recommend giving this stuff a look. Moving back to the interior, and with all the plastic trim perfectly clean, I'm applying some 303 aerospace protectant using a microfiber applicator pad. And if you haven't ever had the pleasure of using this stuff, I highly recommend grabbing a bottle. It will leave your interior with a nice matte finish for 4 to 6 weeks and provide great UV protection. And then you can also use it to revive the look of any faded exterior plastics. The link is in the description if you guys are interested. Alright, so with the owner of this vehicle obviously smoking in here, I figured the inside of the windshield would be fairly dirty, so I grabbed a fresh towel before cleaning it, and this is what my towel looked like afterwards. Kinda gross. Now after doing a quick final vacuum, I'll get these seats reinstalled, and if any of you are curious, yes, they were very heavy and extremely awkward to get in and out without scratching anything.
How's it going?
Good, you?
Good.
Wow, eh? Looks
Yeah.
How many gallons of paint did you use?
Sorry?
How many gallons of paint did you use?
Doesn't look like the same
Oh
car,
my
right?
god, it does. It looks brand new. Wow.
Yeah, look inside. It's where most
Oh
of the
my
work
god.
Oh, I gotta look at this.
Super nice.
Look at her
It's
shoe.
awesome. Wow. Doesn't even look like my car. It's so clean. It looks really, really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Right? Wow.
Now, when you let people go in here, tell them to take your shoes off first.
That's right.
I love it. I do. Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Now, if you had a
It's
garage, you
awesome.
could just put it in the garage and leave it till spring.
Yeah, I don't even want to drive it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, see you
absolutely.
later.
See ya.
All right, guys, and 9 hours later, I've got this Eclipse looking sleek and sexy again. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Enjoy the guitar outro, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.